Okay, I was going to do this faceless, but then my face started doing things and I said, oh, nay, nay. On the camera we go. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, we finally got the docs. All of the freaking documents that we've been waiting forever to show up have finally dropped. So much for having a day off tomorrow. As soon as I clock off work today, I am getting into all of these and we'll be getting all of the information out. But I wanted to get this one document out. I already was planning on reading this one out and getting it out again faceless, but then I ran across the words, notably, not a single DNA expert opinion or report was produced when speaking about the expert witness information that was handed to the defense from the state. And I was flabbergasted. Excuse me? Excuse me? We're going to go over the document like we always do here on this channel. But my brain is everywhere right now. Okay. Those of you that have been here and know true facts know that Dawn Daniels, whenever she asked, I don't even know how many times I've had to say this. This is so crazy to me. This is so wild to me. Dawn Daniels, who led the search at Bryan Kohberger's apartment, specifically asked the magistrate court that was signing said search warrant to ignore the DNA information that was said to them. It's literally written in her narrative for the search warrant where she asked them to ignore the DNA. And now what's insane to me is that people are forgetting for some reason, now that the defense is filing motions to suppress the DNA stuff, they're just completely forgetting that the state said that they were going to be excluding it, that they were going to be filing motions of limine, whatever, in order to make it not a piece of evidence used. They have used that from the beginning. And I have argued from the beginning that there has been so many motions and so many taxpayer dollars wasted on fights over the DNA. And it made no sense because the state isn't even going to use it at trial. So I don't know how that just like slips so many people's minds, man. I don't even know how many times I've had to argue with people. Why are y'all blaming the defense now that they're wanting to suppress the DNA? The state was the first one that wanted to get rid of it. And if you really want to go back OG style, Dawn Daniels was the first one who wanted to get rid of it. Okay, rant over, at least for now. I don't know. I just saw that and I was like floored. I was like, are we serious? So you don't even have anyone to talk about how they came up with your answer? You know why? Because it's not your answer. Because the feds did it. And for some reason, what? The Fed person that did the IgG doesn't want to speak? Are they just allowed that? Like, how is this even a thing? I don't know if I'm getting riled up about this for nothing or not, but this is bothering the ever-loving hell out of me. Okay, look, these are the documents that we finally have. We've been waiting on these for a super, super long time. Now, this one right here about the sanctions is where this information is coming from. And I went to go and just do a quick faceless video to get the information about this one out on my 15-minute break because we were questioning what this was. And because we knew that there was an error in the title. It's not ICT. When I looked all that up, it was like computer stuff. It was not really anything to do with this unless there was really some stuff that we just didn't know about, okay? And I kind of figured it was a typo because I was thinking in my brain like Idaho crime, Idaho Constitution, but I could never figure out what the T could be. So yeah, I was right, and it was ICR, and they fix it or don't have a problem with it in the actual document itself. Now, we're going to read this, and I'm going to show you the actual ICR 16K that they're referencing here in just a second. Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorneys of record, and hereby moves this honorable court for an order to compel complete expert disclosures from the state in this matter and request sanctions pursuant to ICR 16K. Now, ICR 16K is orders for discovery. If a party has failed to comply with a request for discovery under this rule, the court on motion of a party may, number one, order a party to permit the discovery or inspection, like just make them do it. Number two, prohibit the discovery of part or all of the information, evidence, or material sought to be discovered. But like basically, well, if you have it and you're not turning it in, well, then I'm just not going to let you use it at all type thing. Number three, enter such other orders as it deems just in the circumstances, meaning whatever's appropriate, the judge can do whatever is appropriate for the situation at hand. An order of the court granting discovery under this rule must specify the time, place, and manner of making the discovery and inspection and provide reasonable terms and conditions. So actually, now that I'm reading prohibit the discovery of part or all, I'm almost kind of wondering if the state's doing that on purpose so that they can still find a way to exclude whatever information that they are supposed to actually have on the DNA, because I don't give a damn what anyone says. The state was the first one to say they didn't want to use the damn DNA. So then whenever the defense started coming out and saying, we know it's his DNA, what we want to know is how the hell it got there. How did it get there? And then the words like planted started being used. Illegally obtained started being used. And now the state is doing something crazy, like just not including the DNA stuff so that the judge could possibly rule, well, if you're not going to turn it in, I'm just not going to let you use it. The state wins either way. The state wins either way. It only looks bad for Bryan because it's actually his DNA. But if it's not actually allowed in trial, then they can't argue that it was illegally obtained. Look what happened to Richard Allen. Just look. We're not going to get into all the details here because this video would be 20,000 hours long, okay? But this looks like a tactic by the state. Man. The bulk of the state's expert disclosures fail to include opinions and reports. This is why I jumped on here like this. This is wild to me. These inadequate disclosures greatly prejudice Mr. Kohberger, who is obligated to submit defense guilt phase expert disclosures by January 23rd of 2025. The sanctions considered must be the exclusion of the experts or, at bare minimum, an order compelling proper disclosure and an extension of Mr. Kohberger's January 23rd, 2025 deadline, meaning sanction them to not present it whatsoever, or at the bare minimum, at least make them give it to us and give us a longer deadline, because we don't know what we have to argue because they haven't shown us everything that they have. And there's a footnote, and it says, Mr. Kohberger does not include here a motion to strike the death penalty for failure to properly disclose experts. Without proper disclosure, that motion is forthcoming. So if the judge says, well, you don't need to show it, if you haven't shown it now, you're just not going to be allowed to use it, then they can then fight the death penalty because you're not letting the DNA evidence in. Mr. Kohberger is prejudiced because he does not know what expert evidence the state intends to elicit. He does not know what expert evidence he must confront. Exactly. He doesn't know what they're going to bring to the table in order to know who he needs to also bring to be on his side of it. Relevant facts. In this case, there are over 68 terabytes of discovery produced in a method that the defense has repeatedly referenced in pleadings and at various motion hearings as extremely disorganized. So it started at 51 and it's now jumped up to 68. So there's an additional, 17 terabytes? Google how much information that is, okay? And disorganized, yeah, Mowry himself, the one that was in charge of putting most of all of this stuff together, literally said he just put it in a folder and it just was what it was. None of it was alphabetical, chronological, by date, nothing. There's even apparently a whole bunch of stuff in there that has nothing to do with Bryan whatsoever. There have been 20 specific requests for discovery and 6 motions to compel filed by the defense. Actually, there has now been 21. So I guess we'll just knock this one out in this video. 21st supplemental request for discovery. And it has something to do with Exhibit T. And whatever has to be turned in by the defense about this exhibit has not been turned in yet. It's going to be turned in person and under seal in a few days on the 2nd of January. The court entered a redacted order governing further criminal proceedings and notice of trial setting on October 9th of 2024 and has notified the parties that strict compliance with the court's order is expected. Yeah, Judge Hippler acts like he's totally to the book. So let's see how to the book he is with the state too. On December 18th of 2024, the state disclosed 25 experts. Okay. Of those, of 25 experts, only 5 of them included actual reports. So a fifth of the people that they have listed as experts that they used for this investigation, the prosecution side, only 5 of them actually had information attached to this. Okay. And this is where I had a coronary. All right. Notably, not a single DNA expert opinion or report was produced. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Why has the charging entity in this case been doing everything under their humanly power to get rid of this DNA and not present the DNA from day one? Before Bryan Kohberger even got back to Idaho, this was happening in Pullman at WSU. Why? Oh man, this is going to be probably the wildest trial in human history. Like, I'm not even trying to like joke about it or over exaggerate it just because I'm so like this deep in this case. But bro, like, this is so wild. You cannot, Howard Bloom could never, okay? Instead, the state's disclosures refer to Bates numbered pages and say, this disclosure is provided as an aid. It does not encompass all findings, impressions, conclusion, or materials related to this expert's involvement in this case. Meaning, it's here, but it's completely irrelevant and not specific whatsoever. It further does not in any way limit the scope of the expert's testimony. Further, this expert may testify about findings, impressions, and or conclusions that he or she drew from the work of other experts who previously examined or handled the evidence in question. Meaning one expert can come and get on the stand, but testify completely about whatever they learned about what somebody else did. That literally sounds like what Jennifer Coffengagger does for a living. At least 3 digital forensic experts are disclosed with list of 67 electronic devices or third-party databases examined. 67? But that says 67 devices or third-party databases. So I guess that would just mean like 67 different entities that needed digital forensics. And it could be devices or it could be social media accounts, websites, I guess, right? Something like that. Not a single report of what the 3 experts will opine related to any specific device or data is disclosed. So there's nothing specific that any of the experts are claiming to have found on any specific device that's relevant evidence to this case. Nothing at all. Didn't we just talk about how there's no proof about any of this social media crap? Literally, just go back to this last video I did. And now here we have it here. They don't even have experts saying anything. There's nothing on any of the devices or any of the platforms or anything else that they looked at that's notable evidence-wise. If there was, it would have to be included in this. And there's nothing there. I mean, we've known that they don't have anything, but they just prove more and more every day that they really have nothing. Argument. This is a capital murder case, and nothing about it is clear-cut, straight up. That's the most clear-cut statement of this entire case. The expert issues are complex, involving many different facets of DNA, cellular data, cell tower coverage, and drive testing, car identification, crime scene and blood spatter analysis, fingerprint analysis, so fingerprints were found. Forensic pathology and electronic device analysis of the suspect, victims, and alternative suspects, and social media accounts. And there was. We've already known for a long time that they were so deep into tracing somebody's movements that they were surveilling somebody in order to wait for them to drop something that they could end up testing for DNA. And I believe it ended up being a cigarette butt that they ended up taking and testing the DNA on. And never mind the fact that we still have 3 unknown male DNAs found at the crime scene. Where inside the crime scene, we don't know. But we know it was enough for the defense to mention it. And I guess the fingerprint analysis could just be the victim's fingerprints. But then again, with the gag order and everything else, who's to say that they didn't find fingerprints at the scene that belonged to a suspect at all? I mean, we really don't know. I'm sure they had to have. But if they did, that means that gloves came off at some point. But if you're fighting the crap out of people, I mean, there was a hell of a battle down there or something like that Steve said about whenever Ethan was fighting off the assailant or assailants. I'm sure gloves would come off. That's why come on. Kohberger had no wounds on him. At issue is the state's supplemental response to request for discovery regarding expert testimony and its exhibits filed December 18th, 2024. The disclosure lists 25 experts, and there's a second footnote. Mr. Kohberger is filing Exhibit A under seal containing the specific issues with the disclosures. Courtesy copies will be provided via email to opposing counsel and court staff on the date of this motion and hand-delivered to the court on 1/2, so the same as it mentioned before. It provides all of their credentials and 5 with expert opinion reports and others with reference to Bates numbered pages or items, but no opinion data or methodology. What the state's disclosure does not do is follow the rule which states 7 for expert witnesses. On written request of the defendant, the prosecutor must provide a written summary or report of any testimony that the state intends to introduce at trial or at a hearing pursuant to Rules 702, 03, and 05 of the Idaho Rules of Evidence. The summary provided must describe the witness's opinions, the facts and data of those opinions, and the witness qualifications. Disclosure of expert opinions regarding mental health must also comply with the requirement of Idaho Code 18-207. The prosecution is not required to produce any materials not subject to disclosure under subsection G of this rule. This subsection does not require disclosure of expert witnesses, their opinions, the facts and data for those opinions, or the witness's qualifications, intended only to refute evidence or theories that have not been disclosed under this rule prior to trial. As the Court of Appeals has held, the plain text of Rule 16b-7 requires the disclosure of expert witness opinions, the facts and data of those opinions, and also any testimony that the state intends to introduce pursuant to Rules 702, 03, and 05 of the Idaho Rules of Evidence. That encompasses not only an expert's opinion, but also scientific, technical, and other specialized knowledge to which a qualified witness may testify in a form other than an opinion. Meaning, where's their facts? Where's the evidence? Where's the summary of the evidence? Where's the report on the evidence? Where's the actual evidence that it was taken from? What device did you get this information from? Which website? Which social media account? What did you find? What's your evidence? What did you find that was reasonable evidence to add to this investigation? None, apparently, because it's all just not there. They go on to talk about State versus Morin from 2015. As the court explained in Morin, when an expert relies on some form of scientific or technical information, that must be disclosed as opposed to other witnesses whose opinions may be of less scientific variety. Exactly. These are supposed to be experts in their field, and it's very technical and very specific. So the fact that there's just nothing attached to any of these people's information is gross. We are over 2 years in, and are we for real right now? This is wild. The discovery rules are designed to safeguard the truth-seeking functions of trials, promote fairness and candor, and to facilitate fair and expedited pre-trial fact-gathering and to prevent surprise at trial. If the state violates a disclosure requirement under ICR 16b-6, the trial court has considerable discretion to fashion an appropriate 16K remedy, which we read. And then there's a footnote whenever they're mentioning State versus Montgomery from 2017. And it says, recently in State versus Lori Vallow Daybell, an Idaho court struck the death penalty when the state produced recorded jail calls after the court's imposed deadline. Failure to properly disclose experts is arguably more prejudicial than late disclosed jail calls. Yeah, you damn right. Mr. Kohberger continues wading through a sea of discovery. The need for rule-compliant expert disclosures is critical to his ability to prepare for his defense at trial. The state's failure to comply is not harmless. Conclusion. Mr. Kohberger must be able to confront the evidence against him, and to do that, it must be disclosed in accordance with Idaho Rule 16 and this court's trial setting order. The expert evidence disclosed by the state is woefully inadequate. You think? That's putting it so freaking lightly and politely. This is a capital murder case, and compliance with the rules of discovery are not optional, Xana. Hand it over, cough it up. Damn. Mr. Kohberger is prejudiced by the state's failure. Yeah, actually, the victims are too. Let's just be for real. It is impossible for him to confront unknown expert opinions with his own expert disclosures by January 23rd of 2025. Why are we so far in and none of this stuff has been handed over? If they've got the right guy, why are they being so secretive with all of their information? Why are they risking really not having a case whatsoever by playing these games? This is just wild. The sun has moved, so now I am a glow bug. Sorry. But I just can't believe how ridiculous this is. Like, do they not know what happened in Delphi? That people are still like, no, Richard Allen did not do this. You've literally produced zero proof. The world is watching. Do they think that we don't have enough time to watch both places? Because, hello, we're here. What are you doing? I am no words. No words. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. We're going to go through the rest of the documents either later on this evening or sometime tomorrow. But for those of you that are going out tonight, if you do not get another video from me before the first of the year, please be careful, have fun, but be super, super careful. Have a great New Year's Eve and a happy New Year. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you were not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that your notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. If you would have had your notification bell set to all, if you're watching this video hours and hours and hours after I placed it in the community tab, you're a bit behind. Just saying. See y'all.